Welcome back, Patriots, for another episode of The Bald Brad Show. It is officially, what the hell is today? Today is March 3rd. We're jumping into a whole new month. Holy lordy. Things are crashing and burning, and the hope is Donald Trump fixes it. Because I'll tell you what, we got China in the mix now. You got the United Kingdom in the mix. You got Russia. You got Ukraine, France, Germany. I mean, folks, things are, let's just say, razor thin. We got a lot of news to cover today, folks. Thank you for bearing with me as we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. But let's get to the good news here. We hit 70,000 subscribers yesterday. Oh, I couldn't believe it. I almost fell over off my couch, and that is not an exaggeration. I want to thank all of you for always tuning in. We got a lot of regulars. You got people that have been with me for years. We've been doing this for, 4 years now, I think it's been. So, to be honest, we gave ourselves 5 years. I don't know if you know that. The goal was 5 years to really do something with this channel, and boy, oh boy, are we doing it. So thank you so much for 70. Road to 100,000. That is the goal this year. Can we do it? Can we hit 100,000 subscribers? Probably, maybe. I don't know. I never thought it'd be this 70. Oh, let me wet my whistle before we jump into the news today. You always have to have coffee ready. I'm not starting the show unless my coffee is brewed, ready to go. Let's jump into this, folks. We got Zelensky. We talked about this a little bit on the Dark MAGA podcast, but it rolls into what we're going to be talking about today. Because ever since that Oval Office shenanigans where Trump and JD Vance tag teamed Zelensky, and rightfully so, things have just really been off the rocker. I mean, the imbalance in the force is something we haven't seen in quite some time. And I do want to give a little bit of a confirmation. Remember during the Dark MAGA podcast when we watched the whole entire 50-minute Oval Office? And I said, you know, Trump's not seeing all the eye rolls. Trump is not seeing all the things Zelensky's doing, but who is seeing it is JD Vance. JD Vance actually confirmed that. That was why he got pissed off, was because he was seeing for the entire time all of the this or the eye rolls or all that smug crap he was doing, and it pissed him off. And so that's why he couldn't contain himself. And so we read the body language correctly. We said, man, JD normally doesn't kind of like stutter his words a little bit. Like, you know, when guys get really pissed and they're trying to be calm. I've been there before, which is why I recognized it. That was exactly what took place. Well, you have not Senator anymore, Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasized Friday evening that the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky owes President Donald Trump an apology for his behavior in the Oval Office earlier in the day. Rubio discussed the dramatic Zelensky meeting during a Friday evening interview on CNN, which we have here for you all. And I think he is absolutely correct. And I thought we had it here for you all. This is what happens when you have technical difficulties. But he's telling Caitlin Collins that he should apologize for the things that he did. You don't walk into somebody else's office and act that way. You don't walk into somebody's office and on national television start demanding things and saying things to somebody else that's going to basically dictate your livelihood, bro. It's bonkers. Well, here he is.
Zelensky, he said he does not think that he owes President Trump an apology for what happened inside the Oval Office today. Do you feel otherwise?
I do, because you guys don't see. You guys only saw the end. You saw what happened today. You don't see all the things that led up to this. So let me explain. The president's been very clear. He campaigned on this. He thinks this war should have never started. He believes, and I agree, that had he been president, it never would have happened. Now here we are. He's trying to bring an end to this conflict. We've explained very clearly what our plan is here, which is we want to get the Russians to a negotiating table. We want to explore whether peace is possible. They understand this. They also understand that this agreement that was supposed to be signed today was supposed to be an agreement that binds America economically to Ukraine, which to me, as I've explained, and I think the president alluded to today, is a security guarantee in its own way, because we're involved. It's now us. It's our interests. That was all explained. That was all understood. And nonetheless, for the last 10 days, in every engagement we've had with the Ukrainians, there's been complications in getting that point across, including the public statements that President Zelensky has made. But they insisted on coming to D.C. This agreement could have been signed 5 days ago, but they insisted on coming to Washington. And there was and should have been a very clear understanding. Don't come here and create a such scenario where you're going to start lecturing us about how diplomacy isn't going to work.
There you go.
President Zelensky took it in that direction, and it ended in a predictable outcome as a result. It's unfortunate. That wasn't supposed to be this way, but that's the path he chose. And I think, frankly, sends his country backwards in regards to achieving peace, which is what President Trump wants at the end of the day, is for this war to end. He's been as consistent as anyone can be about what his objective is here.
And he is not wrong in anything that he said. It was very well spoken there, Marco. Nice job. And look, I'm behind Trump on this one. For some reason, the Democrat Party and the progressive left are all with their panties in a bunch over how Donald Trump and J.D. Vance talked to Zelensky. But it's weird because they're not upset with how Zelensky handled his smugness and the way he talked as being disrespectful and rude to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, the Oval Office and the American people. I mean, to go and say, well, you have a big, beautiful ocean in between you and basically Russia, but you're going to feel it. That's a pretty wild thing and ballsy thing to tell the most powerful military that's ever existed. That's a pretty ballsy thing to do. And to try to consistently interrupt the president of the United States. Again, I'm going to clarify this. The guy that's going to dictate you, whether you get reamed from behind or not, you're going to keep interrupting him like that? That tells you, one, that no, he doesn't respect Trump. If you don't want to respect Trump, then you don't respect the United States, because the United States voted for the guy. And if you're willing to interrupt him, God, you know that's why they don't want him in the negotiation room. I mean, that says everything right there. If he's willing to act like that in front of everybody, meaning Zelensky, could you imagine what he would act like or how he would act like inside a negotiation room? No wonder the United States didn't want him there when they're meeting in Saudi Arabia or wherever with the Russians. No wonder they didn't want him in the room. Who would? Who would want that guy, that crackpot nut job that wants to be on nothing but magazine covers in the room? You gotta be kidding me. Makes sense now. Oh, like I said, you are probably seeing the greatest side of Zelensky during that meeting. Can you imagine behind closed doors? Oh boy, oh boy. Well, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, folks, hit that like button. We do this each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We got a lot of news to cover. Let's jump right into the next article here. We got Commerce Secretary says Zelensky wanted make-believe bargain with reparations security guarantees. When I saw the word reparations, I'm like, what are you talking about here, bro? Let's jump into the news. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky wanted to strike a make-believe bargain with the United States before an explosive confrontation at the White House that resulted in a rare earth minerals deal being cast aside. During an interview on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures, host Maria, Bartiromo, asked Lutnick about the clash with the president and the vice president and the fire exchange over the ending of the war. Well, Secretary, you were sitting across from the president on Friday. I want to get your reaction to what went down and how it was being in that room. And you got to imagine the guy had a pretty interesting response here. I want to go ahead and scroll down and find it for you. Here we go. It is right here. No, so we were 40 minutes before the cameras came in and 45 minutes before the meltdown. And the fact was, Zelensky never stopped asking for, I will give you no concessions. They have got to leave my land. I want reparations of I can't even say it. $300 billion. And I want the United States to give me security guarantees while they're at war with Russia. So it was true. Where does it say no concessions again? There we go, right there. He says, I will give no concessions. Why is that statement important? And why do I believe everything Lutnick's saying right now? Is because at the beginning, the very beginning, right when reporters were able to ask questions at Oval Office, there was a statement/question made by a reporter that said, Zelensky, you stated that you would give no concessions, that you basically are not going to make a deal. I'm paraphrasing that, but the words concessions, no concessions was in there. And he didn't answer it, but he went like this and he agreed with the reporter. And we spotlighted that on the Dark Maga podcast. Well, there you go. So this guy wants you to pay for their reparations. Very similar to the Democrat Party still wanting reparations. So he wants another, shit, dude, that's so wild. $300 billion. Like what we gave him is just not enough. The secretary then referred to the moment when Trump told Zelensky he was gambling with World War III by not doing more to seek peace in Russia. And that's why the president called out World War III. You are gambling with World War III. We're not going to give you security guarantees while you're at war with Russia. It's ridiculous. His requests were ridiculous. They were not reasonable. The president let it go for a while, he was there to make peace. Our president is there to make peace, he said, and end the death of just millions of people. It's terrible. And Zelensky was not there to make peace. He was there to strike some sort of make-believe bargain that he had in his mind. And eventually that just ran its course. And Trump said, look, I can't take this nonsense anymore and make it crystal clear he's the peacemaker. And if Zelensky's not interested in peace, then you should go home and think about it. Well, you should go home and fight the war yourself and without our money and see how that works out for you. The entitlement that we keep describing, I keep saying is so reminiscent of the Democrat Party, where they believe that they're entitled to this, they're entitled to that. And a lot of times they believe that they're entitled to things based on their race, when you're not entitled to anything. You're given opportunities. Some people are given more opportunities than others. Turns out life isn't fair. It's the way God made things. It's pretty understandable. You can objectively look at the way God made things, even through nature. Things aren't fair. There's animals, there's predators, and there's prey. It's amazing how there's a Tao and a yin and a yang. It's just, I don't understand why they can't get that whole concept that life isn't fair. It's not fair to me that YouTube shadow bans me, but I just deal with it and I still climb up the hill. I try my best not to bitch, moan, and complain about it, but here we are. It's just amazing that they still can't grasp that concept that life isn't going to work out. You're not always going to be dealt your cards. Same way with Zelensky here. You don't come in demanding things from somebody else constantly and then disrespecting him or her, it doesn't matter who it is, in front of everybody. So the mineral deal just fell through. Everything fell through. And what's actually bonkers is Putin came out and he basically goes, hey, I got a lot of rich minerals. I got a lot of stuff for you if you want to buy it. And there was a clip of him saying this. It wasn't part of a show. Let me see if I can find it for you guys in real time. But he's coming out going, yeah, I got a ton of minerals for you. Why don't you guys come and basically buy from us? I'll work a deal out with you. It's kind of crazy to see Putin mineral where he's just coming out saying, hey, I don't mind working with the United States. So here we go.
Мы, кстати говоря, готовы были бы предложить и американским нашим партнерам, когда я партнеры, говорю, имею в виду только административные, правительственные структуры, ну и компании, если бы они проявили интерес к совместной работе. У нас, безусловно, на порядок, я хочу это подчеркнуть, на порядок больше ресурсов подобного рода, чем в Украине. Россия является одним из безусловных лидеров по запасам этих редких и редкоземельных металлов. Они у нас имеются и на севере, в Мурманске, на Кавказе, в Кабарде-на-Балкарии, на Дальнем Востоке, в Иркутской области, в Якутии, в Тыве. Это достаточно капиталоемкие инвестиции, проекты капиталоемкие. Мы с удовольствием работали бы совместно с любыми иностранными партнерами, в том числе с американскими. Да, кстати говоря, что касается новых территорий, то же самое. Мы готовы привлечь иностранных партнеров и так называемые
Why is the sound off? See, I told you I'm messing with things. I apologize, folks. How long was I out for? Look at this, today's botch, this Monday morning. I know I'm muted. We're back. I'm dealing with a lot of things right now. You don't see what I'm dealing with, but it's okay. It's one of those rough Monday mornings. We're going to get through the show nonetheless. Let me start over. I don't like the whole idea of us having kind of, I don't want to say all our eggs in one basket because we have minerals all around the world, but you don't want to necessarily make an agreement with a foreign adversary to where if you ended up going to war with them or they could just cut you off whenever they wanted, you're kind of screwed. So I'm not fully on board with the deal with Russia. I understand they have a lot of minerals. They could work with foreign companies, our companies, doesn't matter what it is. But Zelensky's making a good point here of you should make a deal with our minerals because at least we're the ones that are willing to negotiate with you and aren't necessarily going to cut you off, even though it's a very loosey-goosey trust that I have with him. The point I'm trying to make is Trump is not going to be in office for all 4 years. Cool rant, though. Thanks, Steve. Damn, you guys. He's not going to be in office all 4 years. I mean, folks, the ticket for the Democrat Party, and this is not a joke, this is what the rumor mill is, their running ticket for right now, it's obviously going to change, is Kamala Harris AOC. Putin and Xi are licking their chops over that potential ticket going, I'm going to get Ukraine. What are you going to get, Xi? He's like, I'm going to take Taiwan. Like, can you imagine? I mean, there's no security guarantee there once you have Trump out of office. So I get where Zelensky's coming from because he's saying, I'm going to have to deal with all this stuff when you're out of office. Look what they did when Joey was in office, when Obama was in office. They're gonna take what they want to take when the Democrats are back in. It's a very weird thing, though, that he was willing to work with the Democrats. He went and campaigned with them. That was a little odd. But I mean, they bought him off, so it also makes sense. Well, it wasn't just all of us with this thinking of like, this guy's kind of off his rocker, right? When we were doing our Dark MAGA podcast, we're looking at what's wrong with this guy. He just kept digging himself a hole. And not just during the Oval Office. After the Oval Office segment, we watched his interview with Brett Baier of Fox News. He still didn't apologize. He did at the very, very end. I'm talking like the last 30, 45 seconds of the interview he did. And he just kept digging himself a hole the entire time. And we had to pause because we were all like blown away. Like, is this guy that dumb? We were so blown away, all of us here as a community, that we were wondering if he had Asperger's syndrome. And I'm not trying to be rude to people with Asperger's. I was asking because to act like that and to completely not pick up on the cues, the questions that are being proposed and how this affects things. People can't pick up on social cues that have Asperger's. Like, I think Elon Musk has Asperger's. It was like that. So, you know who else sees it? Speaker Johnson. Speaker Johnson pushes Zelensky to come to his senses. Yeah, I would say so. So Speaker Johnson was on MSNBC, or really just NBC. They're the same thing, talking about this whole thing. He needs to come to his senses.
The Speaker of the House, Republican Congressman Mike Johnson of Louisiana. Speaker Johnson, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Hey, Kristen, great to be with you as always.
It's great to have you back, Mr. Speaker. As you know, reaction has been pouring into that Oval Office meeting on Friday. Democrats and even some Republicans say it only emboldened Vladimir Putin. A Kremlin spokesman saying today that the U.S. foreign policy shift, quote, largely coincides with its vision. Here was the Wall Street Journal editorial board, quote, Putin wins the Trump-Zelensky Oval Office spectacle. What?
Really? I've always found it fascinating that people can watch the same thing and come to completely different opinions.
Is Vladimir Putin the winner here, Mr. Speaker?
No, he wasn't. Listen, I have participated in a lot of bilateral meetings in my time with heads of state and other dignitaries. There's always a certain protocol that goes along with this. I've never seen anything like President Zelensky's behavior there. He berated and interrupted his host, and instead of expressing gratitude for the extraordinary help that the U.S. has provided his country and effectively helped him stay alive and stay in power. So the way that went down was very disappointing. I hope and pray, frankly, that President Zelensky will come to his senses, come back to President Trump. express gratitude as he should, apologize for his behavior there, and accept this mineral rights deal, because that is the best way for us to get to a point of peace over there in that region, and it's in the interest of both countries.
Well, I want to play you what you said almost a year ago when you argued in favor of sending more aid to Ukraine. Take a listen.
I believe Xi and Vladimir Putin and Iran really are an axis of evil. I think they're in coordination on this. I think that Vladimir Putin would continue to march through Europe if he were allowed. I think he might go to the Balkans next. I think he might have a showdown with Poland or one of our NATO allies. To put it bluntly, I would rather send bullets to Ukraine than American boys.
Mr. Speaker, do you still believe that Ukraine is an ally who the United States should support over Vladimir Putin and an axis of evil?
Yes, it's pretty absurd for anyone in the media or Democrats to somehow proclaim that President Trump, the White House, or Republicans in Congress are on Putin's side. It's a joke. We understand that he is a dangerous adversary and he is the one that provoked the war. When we did the Ukraine...
Here's the problem. It's tough when you keep going on the news, even if it's true. We've said this before. When you're in negotiation talks, you don't go on this campaign of calling somebody a bunch of names when you're in negotiation talks. That was something that Trump did wrong when he called Zelensky a dictator. I don't understand why people do it. It was a flub, and I think Trump realizes that it was a flub. But you don't need to be going on TV constantly calling Putin a dictator. Putin's an evil guy. Like, we all know this. Like, we all agree. It doesn't help with your talks behind closed doors because the guy hears all of it.
The aid to Ukraine a year ago. The entire point of that, and I was consistent from that moment until today, the whole point was to position Ukraine for peace talks, to make sure that they could hold the line until President Trump returned to the White House, which we knew was going to happen. President Trump is the only figure on the entire globe who is powerful enough to bring both of these parties to the table. And he was in the process of doing that. And he was very, I think, excited about the deal that was going to be consummated yesterday. But President Zelensky went in and blew it up. And it is such a great disappointment for everyone. We need to get him back to the table. We need to get Ukraine to express gratitude, of course, for all that we've done for them. But to bring an end to this conflict, it is in America's interest to get this done. And it is certainly, obviously, in Ukraine's interest and all of our allies in Europe and around the world.
But, Mr. Speaker, you're saying that we all know that Putin provoked the war. Actually, President Trump said that President Zelensky provoked the war. The week started with the U.S. siding with Russia.
I knew that was going to come up, and that was, I'm just here to give you the honest opinion. It's a biased, I do a biased show for Trump. Obviously, I'm a Trump supporter, right? I mean, I don't need to keep saying it. I voted for the guy 3 times. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything Trump says and does. Trump made a mistake. He's going to make mistakes, and I think he recognizes those mistakes when he makes them. This is one of those things that are going to keep being brought up because he messed up. Trump messed up calling Zelensky that.
Russia and North Korea at the UN refusing to condemn Russian aggression in Ukraine. It ended with this Oval Office confrontation with Zelensky. Is President Trump realigning the United States with Russia here?
No, President Trump is trying to get these two parties to a point of peace. And it takes certain maneuvers and certain strategies to do that. You have two parties.
All right, I'll end it there. Trump knows how to negotiate. And for all I know, one of the things was, hey, you know what? We keep calling Putin a dictator. We keep calling Putin this or that. Let's kind of even the playing field. And I'm going to call Zelensky a dictator, kind of piss him off a little bit. Something that a lot of people aren't aware of. You know, so you got to kind of find those gems, those needles in the haystack. I was reading Sarah Huckabee Sanders' book, who is the former White House press secretary under Donald Trump's first term, and now she's the governor of Arkansas, I believe. And then if you also read Nikki Haley's book and Kayleigh McEnany's books, you get a feel of who Trump is behind closed doors. He talks to his staff about all this stuff before he does it. For example, when he called Kim Jong-un Rocket Man, it wasn't like he just tweeted that out or went out and said it. If you read, I think it was Sarah Huckabee Sanders' book, he actually consulted with his staff. He's like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think about it? And people weren't sure about it. He goes, I don't know. I think it's a good move to call him Rocket Man. I think it's gonna work. So it's not like he just says stuff. So I would imagine he talked with his team about it. I could be wrong, but he's not necessarily one that just, it seems like he throws things out there. He doesn't really so much throw things out there. If you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. It greatly does support us. I wouldn't have or ask you to do it if it didn't. And check out our Dark MAGA podcast evenings, Tuesday, Thursdays, starting this week, folks. And to get there, you got to have Rumble Premium. So our normal podcast program is on Rumble. It's on YouTube. It's on X. It's everywhere. But we will be doing a Rumble Premium only podcast called Dark MAGA, which is more of a long form video clip show. And we'll be doing that Tuesdays, Thursdays. So this sponsorship is from Rumble, one that's incredibly important to the survival of the company. Folks, when Rumble first started in 2013, they built a platform for small creators such as myself. They didn't censor or have biases. They were treated basically everybody fair and treated them equally, all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversations or censor political opinions on COVID, but they did, which was bonkers because Facebook literally admitted to it on Joe Rogan twice. And I know of Zelensky, Zuckerberg saying it 3 times. So they fell to the pressure of the Biden-Harris administration. That's big tech did. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove free speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it, folks. Rumble is here. And they're fighting on the front lines to give you free speech. And Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it, which is a massive problem. Watching our show over at Rumble is the most I can ask from you. But if you really believe in the cause, and if you have the means, one major way you could do to help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in your human right to free speech, baby. Rumble is offering $10 off with promo code STUDIO, all caps, STUDIO. When you purchase an annual subscription, go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are just happy that you're watching us over at Rumble. There's a lot of people over at YouTube, but a lot of people at YouTube don't know that we're over at Rumble as well. And that's our main home, our main platform. So appreciate all of you. Bald Brad, are we going live on March 4th for Trump's address to Congress? Yes, we will. I didn't even know he was doing that tomorrow. Is that tomorrow? If he is, that's Dark MAGA. Perfect time to go live for Trump's address if he is going to do that with Congress. Is that tomorrow? Wow. I did not know that. Well, that timing works out perfectly. Perfectly. Here we go. Mike Waltz idea, U.S. ambush Zelensky, absolutely false. He was incredibly disrespectful. Yeah, I would say so. But here's CNN, and I love going to all these leftist outlets. This is CNN here, Dana Bash, or Bausch, however you say her last name. So we just got done seeing NBC. We saw CNN with Caitlin Collins. Then we saw NBC with Kristen Welker. And now we're seeing CNN again with Dana Bash. You get an idea of the progressive left's narrative by looking at these clips where they keep bringing up the same thing. It's not, hey, maybe Zelensky. Do you think Zelensky was rude? Because it seemed to all of us at the studio here at CNN that he came across pretty rude. Nothing like that, right? It's all, hey, a lot of people are saying Trump was rude. Really? Because a lot of people loved what Trump did. Why are we not making that the narrative?
I'm going to ask for your view on what the Ukrainian president said after that Oval Office meeting. He repeatedly went online. He thanked the U.S. and President Trump for the help that the U.S. is giving, saying it is crucial to have the president's support, that no one wants peace more than we do. Is that enough for President Trump to get things back on track?
Well, the president took calls from Prime Minister Starmer. Yesterday, he's also taken a call from Prime Minister Meloni of Italy. President Zelensky is with those European leaders now. Those European leaders are talking to him directly about getting to the negotiation table. What does he need to see to actually negotiate with us and negotiate with the Russians, go to confidence building measures, go to a ceasefire, and bring this horrific war to an end? And what was so, I think, stunning to all of us in the Oval Office was that it was not clear Zelensky was going to go to negotiations at all, that he would ever be able to negotiate with Putin, and whether he shared our goal of ending this war. So what I made clear as Secretary Rubio, and I said, look, this cannot proceed, was that this was a huge missed opportunity for him and for his country. He could have left the White House on Friday.
That is an understatement, but yes. Yes.
on the heels of an engagement with President Macron of France, with Prime Minister Starmer of the United Kingdom, where they were talking about European boots on the ground, security guarantees for Ukraine, a positive movement towards ending this war, and having Ukraine and the United States being bound together for a generation economically. But what we made clear was that could not proceed, at least for now. And President Trump said in his announcement on X, when President Zelensky is ready to truly engage for peace, he's welcome back anytime.
So what does the president need? What does President Trump need? Does he need a public apology? Does he want a phone call? Can you be specific on how to make that happen?
Well, it wasn't clear to us that President Zelensky was ready to negotiate in good faith towards an end to this war. For us, talking about the details and demands of security guarantees before, as President Trump said, look, I don't know that we can get both sides to the table at this point. And, you can't kind of trash the other side going, litigating through the history of this conflict if we're going to bring both sides to the table.
So he's not doing a good job of expressing it. And I think he wasn't prepared for that question. The premise of the question was wrong. It's not what Trump needs. It's what Zelensky needs to do. See, that's the mistake. Everybody keeps putting everything on Trump. Trump is just a mediator between two parties that don't like each other. It's not that Trump needs something. It's Zelensky's the one that needs to change his tune. And that's what he was kind of describing there was Zelensky's not acting in good faith. He's acting like a schmuck. He is acting smug. He's acting like he's holier than thou. He's acting like he has cards in his hands. Like I said, he didn't explain it really well. Mike Waltz didn't. But why is he coming out acting like that and then asking for security measures when we've already expressed to him this is the stage to get to security measures? And so it's not what Trump needs to do. No. It's what Zelensky needs to do. So he didn't, I don't think he explained that well, but that's what I was trying to take out of it, of what he was trying to express. Troy, thank you so much over at YouTube with the $10 and the badge. It's not even a badge, it's the shield. You've been around for a while. I know who you are. Keep up the awesome work, Bald Brad. Love the content. That's very kind of you guys. Thank you so much. We do have one of the best, if not the best communities in conservative outlets. You guys, I know everybody's name. We got a lot of new people. Again, when you start getting bigger and bigger, it's not like a pat on the back or like, whoa me. I just want everybody to know that's new here. We all know each other's names. We have a lot of regulars in the chat. I know everybody that's in here every single day. Sometimes I even know their actual name that's different than their screen name, just because they're in here all the time. And we have that kind of relationship. So I would love for you, if you're somebody that's lingering behind the scenes, just watching and not kind of coming in the chat, come hang out with us, chat with us, spend some time. I know you're at work, but, drop in a, hey, love being in here. Community's great. I don't know, something. It's just nice to see y'all. And I want to give you a shout out if you're new here, like Jade Hunter. I don't know if I've seen that name before, but welcome. Moved from Reno to Stafford, Arizona. Well, welcome to the Bald Brad Show. That name doesn't look familiar, but maybe I messed up. Max Reese is another one. Max, welcome to the Bald Brad Show. All right, here's where we're getting into some dicey territory here. Here's where we're shifting from, okay, what took place in the Oval Office, what people are saying about it, to now Europe, United Kingdom as well, and then here we're going to have Britain, is kind of putting their money and personnel where their mouth is. So this is where we're going here, because this is getting kind of, even for me, I'm getting a little bit nervous here with what the United Kingdom is going to be doing. So let's start with Britain here first, and then we'll get to the UK stuff. So Britain's ambassador to the United States, Zelensky, must back Trump's plan for peace. Well, that's an obvious statement, right? So Britain's ambassador to the United States said during an interview over the weekend that the European continent needed a radical reset in its priorities to match Donald Trump's desire for them to start carrying their own weight. He made the remarks during Sunday interview on ABC's News This Week with George Stephanopoulos. So here he is right here. I want to make sure I get that for you guys. Here we go.
A very radical reset, as you say in the caption behind you. And the reset has to consist of the United States and Ukraine getting back on the same page, and President Zelensky giving his unequivocal backing to the initiative that President Trump is taking to end the war and to bring a just and lasting peace to Ukraine. And the Europeans, George, too, they need to back the calls for a ceasefire. And by the way, I think that Ukraine should be the first to commit to a ceasefire and defy the Russians to follow. And then as part of the unfolding plan for this negotiation, the Europeans and perhaps some other countries too have got to consider how they are going to put forces on the ground to play their part in providing enduring security and deterrence for Ukraine. Now, that's the reset that we're looking for. That's what the British Prime Minister is working for in his meeting in London today.
Okay. There was a snippet in there. And you talked to him, you heard him talk to George Stephanopoulos about boots on the ground. That's where we're getting into this right now. So this happened late yesterday, where the United Kingdom has pledged putting boots on the ground in troops and planes in Ukraine. This is not good. This is really, really, really bad. Where things in the pendulum was swinging, I would say a little bit in Trump's favor of possibly creating a peace deal. And this just made his life a lot harder. During a summit in London, the UK Prime Minister announced a readiness to enhance military support to Ukraine, including the possibility of deploying troops and aircraft. This statement was part of a broader discussion on European security and the ongoing conflict with Russia. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and several European leaders expressed a commitment to peace efforts, though there are mixed reactions on social media regarding the implications for NATO involvement and potential escalation of a larger conflict. That is the part I am worried about here. The implications. When you start putting your own boots and troops on the ground and aircraft, and you're the ones doing it, meaning they're sending United Kingdom, I don't care what part of the United Kingdom they're sending over there, that makes me a little bit nervous for what type of escalation could come out of this, with Russia going, well, hold on a second, what's going on? And, we've seen how short-fused Putin is. Just the fact that we're even having Poland that close to Russia, he doesn't like, because he's talking about how NATO keeps expanding over the course of history, closer and closer to his borders, and he doesn't like it. So it's very nerve-wracking to see that type of statement coming out. I would also like to point out that there's a lot of conversations about us being pulled out of NATO, and I'm going to show you a graph that I pointed out to yesterday on my X page, because Trump's saying, look, what we're doing is not fair. It's that we're putting in all this money, and we have a huge ocean against us and Russia, but you guys are right next to them, meaning you're the ones that are going to get your shit pushed in if Russia decides, hey, I'm going to go usurpacious and I'm going to go crazy and I'm actually going to go over into Europe. So we could sit back and watch it unfold. I want to point out that we did that already. That we did. You had Winston Churchill in World War II. It's actually not part of the show. I don't even know why I'm doing a history lesson here, but Winston Churchill in World War II was begging FDR to get involved in the war. And FDR's going, no, the American people don't want it. So kudos to FDR on that one. They're going like, I'm not going in. They don't want it. We're basically in a form of like an isolationist country back then. And go, no, they don't want it. I'm not going to get in. I know you want me to. And he was begging, man. He was begging a lot to get the Americans involved. And obviously it wasn't until Pearl Harbor that then we got involved with the Japanese. And then ultimately that unraveled with the invasion, all that other stuff. But look at this here. This is not the ocean, folks. This is the well, I guess it could be the ocean. We're spending, this is the breakdown of the $1.3 trillion in NATO defense spending. Look at in proportionality of how much the United States is contributing to the people that would be affected the most. That does not make sense. This should be flip-flopped. This should be the United States, and this should be Europe. You're the ones that are going to be affected the most. You're right there. The dude's on your doorstep. He's far away from us. It's really a bonkers thing, in my opinion, man. And like I said, can you imagine spreading out $400 billion across this? Nobody's even close to that. If we dropped even half of it, which would be a lot of money in savings for us folks in our budget, right? Look, nobody's even close to that. Nobody's even close to $100 billion. And it's amazing to me that they have the goal. They have the mindset to always talk shit to us, talk shit about us. Oh, the Americans, they're so snobby. Yeah, when you're taking all our money, I would say so, yeah. You want to know what the security you get from this type of graph is, Europe? And I like the Europeans. My dad was a European, immigrated here legally. Not for that. He didn't like this shit either. Here's Shib. Shib, take out your wallet and start contributing more money over there. Now, we have a lot of Europeans that do watch the Bald Brad Show. And I want to point out, they agree too. No wonder you can have an economy that works really well or healthcare that works really well. Yeah, because you have somebody else backing your asses to the proportionality of this. It's kind of like that one little small dude that's always trying to talk shit. Let's do this. I won't even say this. You have a girlfriend that you're always going to the bars with that's just yapping, right? Just yapping her mouth off. And, she's saying that because you're the guy, right? You're the guy behind her that she knows at the end of the day, she's not going to have to fight the battle. You're going to have to fight it. So she doesn't shut the fuck up. Same thing here. Germany, UK, the whole European, that whole shenanigans. They do and say things because they know at the end of the day, we're the boyfriend, right? We're the big papa, the daddy that's going to be coming in, sending the troops in, right? We're going to be sending in the planes and messing shit up. It's been like that since World War II. Hell, it's been like that for a lot of wars. It's always calling in the Americans after you get done talking shit all that time. Oh, you guys this, blah, blah. And then you're all dancing and parading when you see our freaking F-22 Raptors flying over you. And you're freaking thanking God that the boys, right? The boys showed up. The Americans showed up. You're always stoked about that, but you're talking shit all the time. They go, well, you talk shit too. Yeah, I would say we have a little bit of a right to talk shit when you're taking all our money and then talking shit back like Zelensky was. And then you got a problem when we're getting upset with the Europeans going, hey, why don't you be on our side? Why don't you allow freedom of speech? Why are you taking our money and you're not inculcating the values, but you're so willing to take our money? But when the money stops, all of a sudden you don't want to be friends anymore. This is what happens when you give people too much. This is what happens when people rely on you too much. They become entitled. And it's frustrating as hell. I would love to get along with them. Of course I would. But I think because we've such diluted history that we forget a lot of things. And look, I'm not saying America is out of the dark in the things that we've done wrong. But, I think it's enough when we start cutting off the cord a little bit and stop sending everybody all our money all the time. We got enough to worry about here. We got enough to worry about. Look at our freaking infrastructure here. Can we stop sending billions of dollars to everybody else and just focus on us for just a decade? Just a decade. Let's focus on us for a little bit. When was the last time we focused on Americans? And no wonder you got freaking homeless people walking around crazy. No wonder you got vets sleeping on the streets. Take that $400 billion and take care of our guys here. How about that? Would love that. Well, this is also not just created problem. I mean, fuck, man. This is actually on the border of really blowing up, folks. And I'm not trying to be an extremist or alarmist here. What I'm hearing people are Europe is trying to put boots on the ground is really, really big mistake here. Because Xi is sitting back, China is sitting back, just licking their chops. And the reason why I'm so nervous right now, and a lot of people are new to the show, what year are we in? We're in 2025. And I'm going to take you back to memory lane. And for those that have been with me for years, hopefully you will remember this. This is my job to recall the stuff we've covered in the past. It was 2025 that we had leaked documents that we showed here on the show of when Xi was going to try to take Taiwan. It was 2025. So much so that we had a general sent out a memo to his entire command, like everybody else that was under him, saying, hey, we need to start preparing now because I think this was like 2-3 years ago. We need to start preparing now because we're expecting him to go in 2025. Not only that, I will go as far to say, not only do we have that memo, but we also have leaked audio from the CCP that we played here that was on the show. You'll be able to find it in our video catalog. It was years ago. It was like 2 or 3 years ago, talking all about this. We had even leaked documents that we uncovered here on the show that talked about the specific provinces that China was trying to build up and protect and get ready for an invasion into Taiwan, because we know that if those provinces were shut down, then that invasion basically wouldn't be able to happen. because it basically deteriorates and destroys their supply chain, that pipeline. This is some serious, serious stuff. And it's making me really, really nervous, you guys. So James Lankford, would be a mistake for China to think it has a green light to invade Taiwan. Why is he saying this now? Why is it all coming out? Because right now, you have everybody fighting with each other. Everybody's in disagreements with what's taking place right now. I'm going to be completely honest. If China wanted to take Taiwan, not only would that probably start a World War III, they could just take it. There's only two routes. There's only two routes with China and Taiwan. You start World War III or you just give it to them. And I hate to say it, because that goes against like what our values is of always being the protector. It's theirs. I don't want to send any of our young guys to go fight somebody else's bullshit. Unless it's like a World War III, and then it's like, well, all we got, because I ain't becoming a communist. No way in hell. Like I said, I don't want to go to war. Crap in my pants. Langford said during an interview over the weekend that China would be misreading the room if it took what happened between President Donald Trump and Ukraine Vladimir Zelensky on Friday as a green light to invade Taiwan. He said this on Meet the Press. A little bit of a long interview. We're not going to watch the same thing or the whole thing, but at least we get a glimpse of kind of what the narrative is and what kind of potentially could take place here on global affairs. And it's scary, folks.
Mr. Langford, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thanks. Good to see you again.
Great to see you. You have been a longtime supporter of defending Ukraine. In fact, back in 2022, you co-sponsored legislation that called for the U.S. to protect Ukraine, quote, before, during, and after the invasion. Based on what you witnessed in the Oval Office, Senator, are you concerned that the United States is turning its back on Ukraine?
No, we're not turning our back on Ukraine, nor should we. Putin is a murderous KGB thug that murders his political enemies and is a dictator there. And so we've seen that. We've seen his aggression. Countries around him have seen that. Obviously, the Ukrainian people have seen that. The challenge is now we're at a stalemate. This is a World War I-like trench warfare, and it is best to be able to get to at least a pause. And what I hear President Trump saying over and over again is we need to get to a stop in fighting, find some resolution. I understand Zelensky is rightfully concerned that Putin has violated every single agreement he's ever signed and that he can't be trusted. He's looking for some kind of security guarantees, which the French and the UK are saying they want to put troops in. But we need to get these two folks at the table, get to some kind of resolution to something that may look like North and South Korea for a long time and have a line where people are looking at each other, but not an active war.
As you know, extraordinarily, the Kremlin is cheering what it saw in the Oval Office. Let me ask you about something I just discussed with Speaker Johnson, which is that Senator Lindsey Graham has said that President Zelensky may need to resign in order for this peace process to move forward. What say you, Senator? Do you think President Zelensky might need to resign?
I don't agree. I'm not interested in calling on the resignation of other world leaders. I didn't like it when Chuck Schumer asked for Netanyahu to be removed.
All right, we'll cut it there. If you want to see the whole clip itself, you can just type that into YouTube and you will be able to see the full interview. But you got the gist of it of, don't look at what's taking place right now as an opportunity for you to go in and invade and basically ruin it. Now, I think George makes a good point here over at YouTube where he said, the Taiwan's across the globe. Why should we care? We also have to keep in mind that Taiwan also does make the vast majority of all our advanced chips that go into our weaponry, that go into everything that we use as consumer products. And this is kind of what I think was one of the few things that can actually say that Joe did good. Now, I have to read more into it. I know you guys just spit out your coffee and almost got in a car accident when I said Joe Biden did something good. But I was asked this by one of my friends, Javier, and this was when Trump was elected and we were having a victory cigar. And he said, can you name one thing that Joe Biden did good? And obviously I had to sit back and think about it. It wasn't just something I could rattle off my tongue. And my response was the one thing that I think potentially could be good, and I'm using that word potentially for a reason, was the CHIPS Act. And I said it could potentially be a good idea because I want to see and wait for the long-term effects of what it could hold. We rely on other countries way too much. And when we use something like the chips that are made from Taiwan and basically everything we use, it's a massive problem to if they were to be invaded by China, because then guess what? who's going to make the chips for our missiles, our bombs, everything's so technologically advanced now that it basically is used by everything. It's a big problem and something that I keep emphasizing, and so do all of you fine patriots in the chat, saying we need to focus on ourselves. We need to start building our own damn chips. We need to start building our own damn drones. We need to start doing our own thing here and stop relying on everybody else for all this. Hey, how about we abolish the EPA so we can actually fucking mine some minerals here and not rely on Ukraine? You see what Democrats do here? Do you see the constant theme that it can all get connected back to them? Oh, well, yeah, let's buy gas from everybody else and not produce it ourselves when we have the most gas, or in other words, oil, here ever. Why don't we just drill here? Oh, well, you're hurting the birds. Oh, that plant is being screwed. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Well, speaking of China here, we got China still in the news. Treasury Secretary Bessent explains why China will eat the cost of U.S. tariffs. So he was on Face the Nation and explaining why they would eat the tariffs. Let's see this.
The president does roll out the 10% tariffs that he says are coming on China this week, the 25% on Canada and Mexico. How much do you think they will impact what Americans experience? The Peterson Institute says it'll cost households an additional $1,200 a year.
Look, a couple of things. I respect my friends at the Peterson Institute. I think they're a bit alarmist. I think a lot of their supporters are anti-tariff, so they take an anti-tariff.
I don't mean to be rude here, but anybody ever did that booklet called Mad Libs back in the day? Doesn't that kind of look like the dude from Mad Libs on the cover, that one kid? You know what I'm talking about? For those you might know what I'm talking about, you got to be a little bit older, but this looks like the dude from Mad Libs.
Position. And look, we have the experience of President Trump's first term where the tariffs did not affect prices, and it's a holistic approach that there will be tariffs, there will be cuts in regulation, there will be cheaper energy. So I would expect that very quickly we will be down to the Fed's 2% target. So I'm expecting inflation to continue dropping over the year.
So should we expect these tariffs to come March 4th?
Well, there's a series of tariffs. There's March 4th, and then there are there's the big tariff program that's going to be outlined on April 2nd by Commerce and USTR, and that's the president's notion of reciprocal tariffs, and that's going to be very path dependent. We are going to show what are other countries' tariffs on specific goods, what are non-tariff barriers, what are the currency manipulation, what is manipulation of financing or labor manipulation, and what are these horrendous fines that the European Union's putting on our tech companies. And we are going to evaluate that and give them an opportunity to remedy that. So we could either see a ratcheting up in tariffs, or if our trading partners want to remedy what has been unfair trade, then we could see the tariffs come off. So it's going to be path dependent.
And that's Europe in April, mainly.
Well, that's across the world.
Okay. So when you say the Peterson Institute's too alarmist with $1,200 a year on the average household, what's the cost of the household? You think it's zero?
Well, we don't know yet because it's path dependent. But what I can tell you is that I'm not worried about China. China will pay for the China tariffs because their business model is exporting their way out of this deflation. They are the most unbalanced economy in modern times.
It's actually true.
The idea
that part's true.
That because of a tariff, that they would lower their production is wrong. They are going to continue flooding the market. They will eat this price decrease. They will eat any tariffs that go on.
China right now, they did if I have this correctly, and take this part with a grain of salt because it's been a while since I read up on it. I believe they pumped their economy full of stimulus checks. And so right now they're in a massive imbalance. And I think right now might not be a bad idea to go to a trade war with China because of that imbalance. They've already had to alter their currency. I believe they did stimulus checks because everything was falling apart to try to uplift their economy. So there's some big issues with that, some big issues. Something I want to get into here really quickly is the invasion of our country is over. U.S. sees a record low number of illegal entries in February. So President Donald Trump revealed on Saturday that the United States experienced by far the lowest number of illegal alien encounters at the border in history, a major victory for the new administration. Let's smash the like button for that one. I love that. The month of February, my full first month in office, had the lowest number of illegal immigrants trying to enter our country in history. By far. Trump posted on social media there were only basically 8,300 apprehensions of illegals by Border Patrol at the U.S.-Mexico border, all of whom were quickly ejected from our nation or, when necessary, prosecuted for crimes against the United States. This means that very few people came. The invasion of our country is over, he continued. In comparison, under Joe Biden, there were 300,000 illegal crossings in 1 month. 300,000 compared to 8,300 is a big difference. And that all has to do with how Donald Trump's rhetoric is. That has to do with you being serious about things and you're not effing around. And if you want to F around, you're going to find out. And Pete Hegseth knows that real quick. Hegseth orders 3,000 troops to the U.S. southern border. He's dead serious. The Pentagon deployed roughly 3,000 active duty troops to bolster security at the southern border. I mean, we are flying choppers right there on the border. It is awesome to see. This is exactly what I voted for. I am so blessed and thankful that we have a president that is willing to do something like this. It's about time because it's going to keep people safe on both sides. Both sides. A brigade combat team, including its Stryker vehicles, is set to arrive at the southern border in the coming weeks, according to the Defense Department. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth ordered the troops to the border to reinforce and expand current border security operations to seal the border and protect the territorial integrity of the United States. Their deployment underscores the department's unwavering dedication to working alongside the Department of Homeland Security to secure our southern border and maintain the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security of the United States under President Donald Trump's leadership. This is exactly what I've been asking for years on the show. Years, telling Joe, just send the military down there and guard the border. Don't say that you don't have the authority to do it when you have the authority because you're the commander in chief. You could send them global. You can do whatever the hell you want, really. I mean, I shouldn't say whatever you want, but you know what I mean by that. It's send them down there and protect it. And he wouldn't do it because Democrats had an agenda, and the Democrats' agenda was to bring in an invasion, have these people come in and basically deplete our resources. And what that does is uplift every other country. And now you got Russia invading Ukraine, possibly have China going into Taiwan because we have to deal with their own mess. Now we have to spend them. Not only do we have to deal with everything foreign that Joe Biden helped create, but we also have to fix all the problems here. It's like you can't catch a break. Well, that is our show for the day. I appreciate all of you hanging out. We do this each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, Dark MAGA podcast evenings on Rumble Premium only starting Tuesday this week. You have to be part of Rumble Premium, and you won't be able to catch that anywhere else. And other than that, we have a website. If you want to join us, hit that like and subscribe button if you feel like we deserved it. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. 100,000. It'd be crazy if that even happened. But with that being said, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for your patience and your kindness you always show me in the chat. And well, with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.